Fill in the blank time as part of today's grab bag, and this is coming off of the Tyron Smith news that we talked about earlier in the program. Torn left hamstring, out possibly multiple months. The quarterback in the NFC East under the most pressure this season is who, Chris?
Ooh, wow. All of them except Dak Prescott are under pressure. I mean, in my opinion. I mean, this is a pressure-packed group, actually. I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts. You know, and I don't say that easily because, I mean, Daniel Jones is fighting for his life, and so is Carson Wentz. But I guess Jalen Hurts, you know, it's a little bit of the questions around him still. And then, of course, I think we look at them as compared to the Commanders and Giants and go, whoa, their team is really good. You mentioned it, you know, early on in the offseason. You know, there's not a whole lot of excuses here. The team is really a great offensive line, great receivers, really good tight end, good defense. So I'll go with Jalen Hurts just because it'll really be, if they fail, the spotlight will be on him.
And Miles and I were talking about this yesterday, comparing Tua Tagovailoa, Daniel Jones, and Jalen Hurts, which doesn't belong and why. Look, from my perspective, I feel like Hurts is the guy that the Eagles are still kind of low-key looking for an upgrade. Even with A.J. Brown there, they've had that wandering eye. And Hurts is fine with it. He's completely unaffected by it. I think there is pressure on him, but I think the most obvious pressure is on Daniel Jones. He's in his contract year. It's prove it or out. They didn't pick up the fifth-year option. There's already people like Michael Irvin calling for Tyrod Taylor to play. And I feel like if he struggles, it will be Tyrod Taylor at some point, and it will be Daniel Jones out the door. And then he enters the Mitch Trubisky phase of his career. Maybe be a backup for a year. Maybe be a placeholder starter, thinking that I'm the guy until the team that signed you drafts someone in round one, and then you got to compete with him, and then you got to be the backup. And then the question is, how many years are you just taking a paycheck to stand on a sideline? And it's not bad work. It's good, honest work, and it's probably more than you're going to get anywhere else if you're getting $3-4 million a year. If you get into that kind of a stratosphere, but this is it for Daniel Jones. His chances. He's not going to be like Carson Wentz, who's going to get 2 or 3 chances to be a starter. I think this is it.
Yeah.
I think if he washes out this year, he's perennial backup until somehow he maybe gets a Nick Foles moment and people say, well, maybe we can make him a starter.
Agreed. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that, the Carson Wentz thing is interesting. You're right. Because Carson Wentz, he got these 3 years because why? We saw a year where he played MVP-level football. We saw another year where they got in the playoffs, and he really carried the team down the stretch. So everybody's seen that to go, wait, I think we can make that happen with him too. There hasn't been that with Daniel Jones, and there's tremendous pressure. I mean, those 3 right there, they're definitely fighting for their NFL careers here this year.
Take your pick. The 2021 division winner most likely to miss the playoffs this season. In last year's division winners, Cowboys, Rams, Packers, Bucks, Bills, Chiefs, Bengals, Titans. Which of those 8 is most likely to not make it at all to the postseason field?
I'll go with the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are actually the pretty easy pick here for me, at least. And again, it's not easy. I know that, and we always have teams that come out of nowhere and bump other teams out. But just as we discussed, with no Tyrone Smith, few injuries, Michael Gallup, few guys missing, no Randy Gregory. Again, the defense, yes, it was better last year, but it wasn't like, people I think made a bigger deal about it like it was like top 5 in football. I mean, if I remember correctly, it was 19th in football, and we acted like it was the 85 Bears. So, I could see the Cowboys missing out on the playoffs this year.
My first thought was the Cowboys, but when you consider the rest of the conference, there's still a pathway to maybe steal the 7 seed, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, if you don't win your division in the NFC East, it's typically the kiss of death. But maybe this year, maybe they can string enough wins together. I'm going to say the Titans because if the Colts win the division, how are the Titans going to get a playoff spot in an AFC that has so many great teams? Now, maybe the AFC West teams sufficiently cannibalize each other, and the Titans can fatten up on the Jaguars and the Texans, but I think the Titans could very well go from 1 seed to on the outside looking in just because the AFC is so damn good right now. All right, what's more likely? Rex Ryan wins the Amazing Race, and he will be a contestant on that program this year, or Tom Brady actually is a contestant on The Masked Singer. What's more likely?
That's funny. Well, there's no way Tom Brady is on The Masked Singer, so I'm going to go with Rex Ryan wins the Amazing Race. which is hilarious that he's doing it all together. I mean, I wonder if he has I wonder if this is like one of his favorite shows, and that's why he's getting involved in this. But I don't know. I might have to tune in just a little to see this and see how it goes. I know of the show, the basic premises of it. But yeah, pretty funny to see a ex-head football coach doing that.
I say this in part because it's not an NBC show, but this is the 100% unvarnished truth, which is what I always tell. I hate it when somebody says that because, like, oh, well, tell us when you're lying then if you're going to make sure you're telling us this is the truth. But this is the truth. I've never watched a single episode or part of an episode or just happened to trip over The Amazing Race. I've never seen it. I don't even know what it's about other than it's a race that apparently is amazing.
They have like tasks all over the world, and they got to go, all over the place. And, I don't know. They give them like, I'm like you to the point where I've flipped on it and I've sat there and watched it a little. But yeah, it's like I don't even know what to say. It's just it's they got tasks or little journeys that they got to go on, and who can finish it the fastest and all that, then you win. So we might have to watch Rex do it a little bit.
Probably a few F-bombs bleeped by Rex Ryan, unlike his last reality show, Hard Knocks, where he was the star of the show, and he won a lot of people some Emmys just by Rex being Rex. All right. Bill Belichick was and is or has been, I don't know if it's still going on, in Las Vegas for joint practices with the Raiders. The Patriots got a tour of UFC headquarters. Dana White actually gave Bill Belichick a championship belt. I wonder if you can use that as a weightlifting belt, too. I'm not sure. It's basically the same structure, just different finish. The current NFL player that would make the best UFC fighter is who?
Ooh, wow. I mean, I always think about, like, Aaron Donald right away. I mean, that's usually the guy I think about just because I go, whoa, like, yeah, good luck dealing with the guy that quick, that fast, that strong. I mean, he's one that comes to mind right away, but so I'll go with Aaron Donald. I will. He's the one. But, man, there are some, like, left tackles and things where I'd want to go, what? Have he got in the ring in the heavyweight division? And you had to see Orlando Brown coming into town? I don't give a damn who's in the UFC. There's going to be issues if, they could get coached up on some of the fighting skills and all of that.
First guy I thought of was Chandler Jones because his brother was a UFC champion.
Good
and I assume they beat the crap out of each other growing up, so he knows some of the moves. Chris Jones is the guy that I think would be. If you're looking for someone, heavyweight division, that would be a badass, that would take you apart quickly, I think it would be Chris Jones.
It's a good one. That's a good one. I do like that. You're right. I mean, defensive tackles, we know they're mean and nasty too. I did, like the Watt brothers, I think about them as well a little bit because of like what you said with Chandler Jones. I mean, that house, they were fighting and wrestling and a bunch of crazy psychos too.
Can you imagine the furniture those guys broke?
Oh, well, I remember J.J. Watt made a comment on Saturday Night Live when his opening monologue where, like, they used to fight over, like, the video games or the controller or something like that. And, like, he was like, no, my mom literally used to throw it down there and be like, go fight for it. And like everybody laughed, and he was like, no, I'm serious. So I do think there was some crazy stuff going on there.
Eventually, Dad brings home a coffee table made of concrete because that's the only way that it's going to survive a collision with the Watt brothers.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.